of people. And if we're going to spend a lot of money on them, we expect them to leave, earn their keep at the end of the day, make it worth our while, make it worth our money, and all of that. So we'll be talking about them. We're looking at agenda setting and expectations on the roundtable with Mr. Jide Ojo. He's a public affairs analyst and a development consultant, so it will make for an amazing conversation. I'll go on a quick break and get across to our guest. When we return, we'll get started. Stay with me, please.
Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm the whole Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria for Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
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 This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria.
Nothing but the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I do it every morning on Morning Quiz 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Nigeria Info 95.1 and Femi D. Avenue. Join the biggest conversation around the national politics today. The way that is trustworthy, full of passion, and yes, covers the biggest politics and the stories that matter to you. See, you have all the reasons to find out what's going on in Nigeria and be engaged differently. Let's talk. That's the way to go, even this morning.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
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 This is Nigeria Info.
Just starting off with how they are signed and what to make of it.
Well, the waiting game is over. So we have the cabinet in place now, maybe 99%. It's 3 are yet to become. So, quite unfortunately, it is a large cabinet, and my gut feeling that we really do not this kind of bloated cabinet at this point in time when our resources is very lean. And so, of what significance is it that we are having 50 plus members of cabinet? Because you have to add the president and vice president, the chief of staff, the secretary to the federal government, maybe the special advisors who also a chair at the table. Then, of course, the national security. Anyway, in terms of getting our money off, it all depends on how well we can resource people. Because you can't make an omelette without making an egg, and neither you make a brick without. So, still venture nothing gain. 2.6 billion, according to daily cost, is what the federal government will be spending for it. And as you have pointed that, the Revenue Mobilization Fiscal Commission is already on charge of increasing this allowances and remuneration. So I am of a feeling that this is just job for them. And in my article today, Punch newspaper, I actually pointed out the folly of having this huge number of ministers. For instance, you a newly established Ministry of Steel developed, and you are putting 2 people there to do what? When steel development seems to be out of solid mineral, so it's still no longer solid mineral. So you put 2 people in charge of Ministry of Petroleum Resources, as well as the president.
In terms of petroleum and gas.
You have Minister of State Petrol, a Minister of State Oil, Minister of State Gas. Then you also have Minister in the Defense, 2 former governors in the Ministry of Defense. Even if you want to justify that, can justify having 2 ministers in the Ministry of Police Affairs. And actually, we have a constitutional body called Police Service Commission, which has been grossly underfunded and underperforming. So that over the years, the successive Inspector General, we've been having occasions and face-off between the Office of Inspector General and the Police Service Commission. The Constitution is very clear about what role it expected the Police Service Commission to play. But ask the chairman, former Inspector General of Police, Solomon Arasia, what's the budget for PSC 2023? You'll be shocked. So you now have a Ministry of Police Affairs where you have a male and a female as ministers under Nobu. What is the significance of having a Ministry of Police in a situation like this when we have high densities of insecurity? Who definitely, no matter the brilliance of the idea of having that separate ministry service, if the security situation does not update or the security does not update, can that minister achieve any significance of? So I really don't understand the wisdom behind having 34 other ministries from 28 that previously. And I'm Kimberly. I'm not being uncharitable. He's a father who has 5 children, and he's earning maybe 100,000, and is grappling, finding the to feed the family of 7. And you know that this is the time for you to raise additional wife and have children. Now, definitely Choco will be the other thing, because I really don't know. And UNESCO is saying that we should spend 6% on our education. The health sector is calling for attention. Actually, all sectors. Now that you have increased the number of ministries, how ensure proper funding Ministry of Works alone will need trillions to be effective. No matter how brilliant Engineer Dave Rumai is, there are already trillions in debt by Fashola as Minister of Works, giving the commitment to controls. And now, I don't know whether in 2024, whether Dave Rumai will be able to even up to 1 trillion, with even as little as our currency. So I wait to prove wrong that these Kenyans will be able to achieve significance. Everybody is talking, we are going to generate jobs, we are going to generate 100,000 jobs in 3 months. But stock is very cheap. What's the whole significance of having a Ministry of Green and Blue Economy? The significance of having a Minister of Art.
Because the last is a Commonwealth of Nation meeting. These are the priority areas and resolutions to, ocean preservation. And so you're talking about blue economy. I can understand why perhaps with all of the climate change, Paris, whatever, you might want to be very specific about those kind of plans also.
We wait to see. It's not as if one cannot in textbook what blue economy is and all that. Those are buzzwords. You understand? We were told even under the former Minister of Communication and Digital, the potential of digital economy. That's Professor Ali Pantani. Everybody just said, this man is a whiskey, going to turn things around and all of that. We're going to be creating millions of jobs. Where are those jobs today? As I speak with you, many companies are divesting from Nigeria and relocating. The last been a GlaxoSmithKline that we learned is leaving Nigeria because of maybe the problem with ease of doing business and insecurity. So I just want to be proved wrong that this will achieve any significance. But I feel the world is going towards a smart governance, which is efficient and not just for the boys. In my article today, I did what Lanesik Fekayamu said about the unconstitutionality of having
a small state.
And it did the whole research legal opinion on that, which was very found. And of course, even that it has not been worth it. Having a Minister of State, you can present memo except you can with your substantive minister. And we have 13 of such of state. And you ask yourself, is this the time, even if to compensate people for electoral victory? I'm not saying you should not. And there are quite a number of agencies and departments that are more rewarding than even having a ministerial position. Because it's not like, even though we said they are going to need 8.6 billion in funds, it's not like they are going to earn any fantastic for influence peddling. I'm not sure some other people in private sector earn multiple times that they will receive as legitimate reward. But okay, let me put it this way. This is August ending. We have only a week into the end of August. These people just sworn in. There is no office for many of them. Head of service will have to start working
no office space in one. Okay, because of how the ministers are redefined, right? Some of them are done. Okay.
They have been redesigned. New ones have been recreated, And so people have to be shuffled and moved around. And don't also forget, this is how in the midst of the policy of having directors who have served for years going on compulsory release. And my permanent secretary have been there for 8 years going with that's a circular was issued on July 27. So what we are saying is very brief. Yes, it may be a good thing. 500 directors and farmsec will likely be affected by that new circular. But the issue is that you know how things work in bureaucracy. Before you find office space, redeploy staff. And of course, where is the budget for Ministry of Blue Economy? It would have been issue. So 2020 did not capture any budget for that ministry. So unless a supplementary budget environment, that means this newly created ministry would not have budget to run their offices until 2024. And the earliest, even if you want to do environment or you want to do supplementary budget, the earliest time you can is when Senate and indeed Assembly comes back from their annual maybe in October or maybe towards the end of September. And you know how tardy this thing can be. By the time they come back, first reading, second reading, committee, third reading, before. So you are already looking at the end of the. So effectively, for these people to have budget to run their respective ministries, I mean the newly created one, it might be the first quarter of 2024 when the 2024 budget, if it is passed on time, to keep us in the January to December financial year cycle. So those are just some of the teething problems and I thought they were going on a retreat immediately after inauguration. It seems that the time for the retreat hasn't yet been decided because they need to have that retreat so that there will be a clear-cut KPIs, key performance indicators. There will be clear-cut job descriptions for each of the ministers. So if you are a Minister of State Education, what will you be dealing with? What will be your area of focus? If you are a Minister of State for, what will you be handling? If you are a Minister of State for State Development, when they say state development, the one that comes to mind is Ajaokuta. We know that has been Mariban for over 2 years. And we have spent so much. Incidentally, the Kogi state nominee, the son of the former governor of Kogi State, Abuja, Ojo, is now the Minister of Development. He started the media interview where he said he did some research as to what he could do. But there are two of them. So what will the Minister of State do? Will be the substantive minister. So you need a retreat to clearly find lines of responsibility for each of the ministers. Look at someone like Minister of Defense. You have two former governors in that.
I'm glad, Mr. Ojo, that you are getting to the point because we wanted to interrogate some specific ministries. I was driving to work and I noticed that the house already has a new face. The billboard is there with the minister and the Minister of State put out there. The name have been changed to Ministry of Defense, the one close to our office, right? So we know strategic where they'll be operating for. But two former governors, and one particular one being a governor who was there, was grappling with much insecurity in the state. And of those who've spoken to saying he's going to prove it's wrong and with how they intend to manage the ministry and the issues of, security in Nigeria coming from there. But a lot of people just feel, well, we didn't get the boss genius while you were governor, particularly Zamfara State, and the disarmament policy that came up under his watch also is something to look to, trying to just under what approach would they bring to that ministry specifically?
So I just hope that, as they said, it will prove critics wrong. Let him prove us wrong. Badaru said within 1 year we will see impact. We hope so. The best Nigeria wants at this point is secure life and security of lives and property. And just last week we lost 6 soldiers in Niger who were ambushed by the bikes. And we also lost helicopter. So we want improvements. I mean, there is a new report today that we have lost 3,000, lost 3,000 plus, or maybe 3,000 plus have been kidnapped the last 6 months. So the incidences of insecurity is growing. In spite of all the assurances from the service chiefs that they are going to hit the ground running, even for the police chief, everybody is making commitment. They know, given the lean resource they have disposal, they may not be able to achieve. It's not due to incompetence of these people. But let me give you for instance, the ESCO suggests for budget, the budgetary suggestion for education is 6%. Under Buhari, we hardly did up 10%. And then the alibi is, we don't have enough to go around, so we need to prioritize. Now, given the revenue shortfall, under Buhari, we are told that Buhari in 8 years claimed he was doing more with less, that he was having to work on less than 60, or less, on about 40% revenue compared to his predecessors in office, that he was earning barely 40% of what Goodluck Jonathan, Yara, and Obasanjo were earning, that he was able to still deliver some. But we don't know what percentage and Tinubu will claim that, they've done particularly. He wasn't talking about empty treasury. But we know for certain that the issue of foreign trade in Niger Delta region is still a very serious concern. And we haven't been able to make much money as we expected. Just last week, we borrowed $1 billion from the African Bank of Egypt. And our debt portfolio continues to skyrocket. So, in all of this, I think the most advised, the logical thing to do will be to have a lean government, more than minimum 36 or 37 that the Constitution in 147.3 is. So the Minister of Defense, which you cited, is that I hope that there won't be an ego problem between Badaru and Pawale, because both of them former governors and having two elephants the same, trying to drink from the same pot, may actually result to loggerheads.
Or perhaps the flip side, it might just be something from the same region, understand the peculiarity of what they're dealing with, and hope we put set ego aside and work to salvage the situation.
I do hope so. Badaru was speaking to the BBC Hausa service 2 days ago, and he said he could replicate he managed security in Jigawa State, that he never really had serious problem of banditry and using in Jigawa. And I hope he will replicate that. I mean, I will be his champion if he is able to do that. Because really, the truth be, for us to solve the problem of poverty and unemployment, we need to first solve the problem of insecurity. You understand? I was on Channel TV Politics Today yesterday night, and this same question was posed. I was like, okay, you want employment situation to improve, but when the insecurity, how do people feel safe? Applying their things on the farms or trading in local markets when bandits are
ravaging the areas,
and some people. I saw a school bar yesterday where the 8 core members that are going to Sokoto State were arrested by kidnapping. This kind of news is not happening. It's not me, and it gives some cause for concern. So the issue is that I pray for former Governor Badaru and former Governor Matawale that they will, given the fact that they are both of them are from Northwest, and they feel the pinch of insecurity and banditry, that they will be able to achieve national peace and stability for the entire country. So, on the whole, something I need to flag, lest I forget, is what Serap has also raised. Your former governors receiving life pension and still earning salary as minister. I think the president should see to it that, starting with himself as the governor of Lagos, that is not handing any person from Lagos State again, even as he serves as the president of the country. And that these former governors who are in his cabinet also do not receive life pension from their respective states. That is for those former governors who are now in the National Assembly. None of them should be able to hand any life pension while they are, in it or House of Reps. Only Otumagbenga Daniel has openly written to his governor in Ogun State, Governor Dr. Abiodun, that his pension should be stopped in the period that he is Senator of the Federal Republic. I think that was quite a statemently thing, and that is very exemplary. So all the former who are in life pensions to write to their respective state governors to put a hold on that, like the hand salaries and allowances of the Federal Republic. That will show them as men, as people who feel and not just people in government for personal advantage.
All right. Well, that's something people have always, particularly with the Senate, where say we have governors who see it as a retirement ground. And that came, I remember, during Saraki's assembly, raising a lot of issues as to who was still drawing pension, why they're still there, and how getting so much from the country. They're even giving half as much as they. So it's a good thing that Serap has brought it over again. But let's also interrogate another aspect of our country, which is the economy. I looked at the security aspect of it. Economy is also important. I know the wealth, the weight, the bulk of terms of economy, fiscal policy will rest with the Minister of Economy, Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance, I beg pardon. His job would involve over the economy, but you have some very important ministries that they will need to work hand in hand with, and that's the trade and investment. I mean, you're looking at, let's see, international planning. You have to work with that. And there's one other ministry called out that they feel like you need to just head together. Because we saw the last time former Minister of Finance where it felt like there was a disconnect between, monetary and fiscal. CBN is doing something, finance is not carried out. All we get is figures. We're left to see how some of these critical ministries and bodies come together, what we can do concerning our economy, concerning our fiscal policies. And yes, they talk about what they're doing is a brilliant, all of that. But how much is the effect change is what Nigeria want to see in the future. But first, do you agree that's the right placement for the job?
Well, like I said, like you rightly said, he's a brilliant guy, but he does not make a foreign. So he has to work collaboratively and cohesively. That's why he's the coordinating minister for the economy. And the economy actually covers almost half of the cabinet. So he's the one that will actually be coordinating with even the Minister of Blue Economy, Minister and Creative Economy, digital economy, everything on me. And he has to primarily, in fact, they should be sleepless nights now trying to put together the budget 2024. Because time is first thing, 2024 budget has to be before the National Assembly, maybe by end of September or maybe early October, so that it gives some time for Ashwaju for the National Assembly to have a thorough look at budget and then pass it on of the 31st of December. So can have you can take the January to the budget cycle. So of course of releases, budget releases are also being made, particularly the economic relief package. States being the celebrated 5,500 they received last week. Later told us, this 90 billion is actually not a grant. 52% of it is a 48% is a loan. You have to pay back in 2 years. So this loan has to be repaid. We do not know whether the bailout that former President Buhari gave to the state governors in 2015, 2016, 2017, whether they did pay, we really do not know. And these are the things we need to find out. Also, we cannot continue to have a jumbo. I've seen many of the governors also appointing commissioners, 35 special advice. To do what? To do what? So at the end of the day, you keep saying the state pulse is broke. And don't also forget, part of what Edun said is how do you make money? To pay
we're neck deep in debt also.
To pay workers. The new minimum wage will fall due 2024. And the groundwork is already beginning, rising from what percentage of the wage increase that workers will get. The labor is taking for wage award prior to the time they negotiate waging. The wage award similar to the award of 1970. We really haven't had what the federal government will be doing in terms of wage award. And everything centered around money. Everything centered around how much do we have for distribution to in the federation. And then one other will also be how we stop the leakages in the financial system of Nigeria. A lot of leakage, my sister, a lot. Government-owned enterprises that generate incomes and spend it recklessly without recourse to the treasury signal account. Some of them, have very bogus mineral. Some of them award themselves bogus allowances. And, there has been serious attempts streamlining the remuneration of public servants. Someone works in NCC, that's now Communication Commission, works in FR, works in Net Fund, works in State Bank, and they receive jumbo salaries and allowances. And somebody works in mainstream Ministry of Information and earn a free salary. You don't get, I don't know whether you're seeing me.
I get your point.
The people who work in TA, who works in Radio Nigeria, Voice of Nigeria, are also public servants. They are not stricto sensible servants because the work people put in is more than that of 7 a.m. to 4. No one in NTA is involved in programming, in production, works like ours. Some of them will be there from early in the morning before. They don't close until 8 p.m. or 10. And they report and these people earn peanuts as salary. And counterparts in the parastatal called National Commission are receiving jumbo pay. And likewise, many of the agencies under means of this NITDA, other agencies where they have special salary. So you find out that agencies that generate income do not receive more salary. Like customs, the salaries of customs will definitely be more than that of civil defense. Because customs is a money generating, maybe to an extent, NCDC too, because they are the one licensing private figures out. But I'm not sure they generate as much resources as the Nigerian
Customs.
So you find disparity in the system of public servants, particularly public servants for the state. And this has not enriched productivity. So, it will be part of Wale's bid to ensure that he actually able to put stop to leakages in the financial system. In fact, to me, if there is a ministry that needs a minister, there should have been 2 ministers in the Ministry of Finance. Are you getting it? Just like Okonjo Iweala was there, coordinating minister
of
for
the economy.
Minister of Finance and coordinating minister for the. There was also this woman in Kaduna who actually took over as substantive minister, Mrs. Isha Ahmed, the one that just as a Minister of Finance. So what I'm saying is that the Minister of Finance has a lot to do in terms of improving the revenue profile of the country, in terms of stopping economic leakages, around government-owned enterprises not remitting the right amount of money generated on behalf of government, and issue financial audit for all the all the agencies government that, for instance, all the agencies that came up is now being asked to go and investigate and special investor now. These are issues that are with finance. Many of allegedly used those offices.
In the past.
You can see the revelations that's coming out there, even with the audit account that was already pushed last week Thursday, where it came out that borrowings were done without of National Assembly. We are owing JP Morgan, owing which other one? Gosak in US. We are paying up to, is it $13 or more? And this is part of what Delhi was passing on that we have in our foreign reserve. And actually, we have already borrowed much from. And you could see that the borrowing that was done was not done by CBN, was done by MC, the one that we got sick from Afrexim Bank. So a lot of coordination needs
to be done. Yeah.
And
also the part of debt profile. That's okay. That's also something he's worried about, what we need to do so that we're not borrowing anymore in the economy to that point. A lot just caught out for him Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister Economy also. And like you point out, it's curious. There's some ministries do they really need a Minister of State? Some places feel like, there's a lot of weight on it and alone. But, well, we'll get to see how they work all of these out. And looking at ministry that was to a certain extent decentralized is looking at petroleum, where you have petroleum and gas rated as two ministers of state. Yes, I know that we're not harnessing potential of gas enough, but that informed the wisdom of having a minister of state for gas, standing alone from the minister of petroleum, to seeing how maybe we have that resource in abundance in the country. It's left for us to see what the Minister of State gas bring to the table here.
Well, it's one of the ministries that streamlined on the inauguration.
Yeah.
I think it was very nice.
Yes.
They properly the two ministers that they're both going to be Minister of State. Then presupposes that the president be the substantive Minister of Petroleum Resources. But not too surprising that they have a Minister of Gas, a Minister of State Gas, because the world is moving towards clean energy, and the buzzword, the insane Nigeria is compressed natural gas. And don't forget, under Buhari has dated a decade of gas. And so, the one who do all this conversion of electricity generators to city. How do we do the kind of our cars to gas? How do we also stop planning due to ozone layer depletion, the issue of climate change? So there is a lot with the gas. In fact, we have that while our oil is finite and may be out of oil in the next maybe 20, 30 years, our gas reserve is much higher than our oil reserve. So there is a good thing that the president is taking in terms of having taking a intending look on that. But what's the expertise of Fedipo Epo, who is from Akwa Ibom? Does he have the critical skill to effectively supervise that sector? And I hope there will be no trusting relation between the two ministers and then their supervisor, which is the president. Because this is to mind what happened with Dr. Jide Ojo of State for Petroleum Resources in the first tenure of Buhari, where he, administration wrote an open letter. He could not see the president in 6 months a year. He could not see President Buhari. And no thanks to the chief of staff there, who was then much more than many of the ministers. So, I hope it's not the scenario that will play out here where the president will become very scarcity. Because that's part of why today in the point I advise. It's not for me a good thing not to have a substantive minister of petroleum resources. There are quite a lot of experts, there are institutions where you have petroleum engineering being studied, where you have somebody from that institution coming to superintend over the minister of petroleum resources. Because beyond the fact that President worked for ExxonMobil, I don't know whether he has professional field experience or how to manage a petrol sector.
And we see the importance of having the right people managing it. The former president was Minister of Petroleum, and he had very little input and made very little input holding that office.
You remember under President Buhari, oil theft grew to a industrial scale, and he never was successful in bringing it until when he exited. And we were living on old memories that, he's been previous minister of petroleum resources during the military era in the 70s. And, he's going to run it prudently. But at the end of the day, by running rings around him, you couldn't do much. All the military security agencies could not cope oil theft, and we engage a private sector player or a non-state actor to help us protect our pipeline. Last week I was discussing in my column the issue of vandalism. And I recall what former Minister of Information and Alhaji Lai Mohammed said. way back in 2021 that Nigeria was spending 60 billion naira annually, 60 billion naira annually to fix pipeline. And I wrote in my column, I said, was this money better for? And if spending 60 billion annually repairing vandalism, why is it that we are still talking petroleum products from Lagos to parts of Nigeria? Why there are 55 depots? Are they not pumping fuel, petroleum products from parts to Monsini in Ogun State, to Suleja here, to all the fuel depots? Why are they not pumping? Why is it that you have to leave from Abuja Lagos to go and bring 3,000 liters of petroleum products? And yet you have 60 billion naira annually to fix vandal pipeline. So can't you see the activities of faith columnists that this is a gold mine, that a honey pot that must not break? Because they know that the government will put down those 60 billion to repair vandalism. And yet we never got around overcoming that challenge of pipeline vandalism. And you could see
it's just that when it comes to the corruption around that sector, it's being cabal. We're looking at the type of syndicates who want to ensure status quo for their own benefit at the end of the day. And they're not small fries.
That's what I'm saying.
It takes players to run that industry.
There is already a syndicate that we do not have a functional refinery. That's why when we got 1.5 billion from Exim Bank of China to fix the Port Refinery, we were told that it will be 3 months, which is 4 months, 1.5 years. And that was ordered in 2021 or thereabouts. We have overcome the night as of that time. But by December 2022, they promised that the turnaround maintenance will have completed. The receiver was lying to us. So you know what? We won't be able to come in December 2022. We wait for the first quarter of 2020. First quarter came, he said second quarter of 2023. Now what we have is that it will take the end of 2023 for Port to come back on stream. There is a deliberate sabotage estimation that this not work, so that we'll continue to. And that's why, let me say this, without mind, do you know, Kimberly, that petrol subsidy is back? Do you know?
Well, I wouldn't put it that way, but if we listen to actors that say in terms of the difference of the landing cost because of naira dollar difference of that, to a certain extent, like someone is taking care of the difference, because if government is saying they're not going to raise the price of petrol upwards in a directed market.
What subsidy mean? You said the subsidy is gone. That's President Tinubu to us on May 29. But we are told by operators system that the landing cost, the retail cost, that the landing cost is much higher than the retail cost. So somebody is speaking different. So it's like what government needs to subsidize is about 300 naira. Now government is maybe starting with 100 naira. That's just fine. There's still subsidy. They don't call it subsidy. We are back what we were under Buhari in 2017. When Buhari also told us that subsidy on after he increased price of PMS from 87 naira to 145 naira in 2015. And he said, allow me to do this so that we would the fuel subsidy. And we agreed. And then the next thing was for 2 years, there was no provision for subsidy in that. But any claim they were paying what they called on recovery. So we are back to that under recovery, and that is not good for us. Because at the end of the day, capacity that we were complaining about, that we thought the removal of fuel subsidy will help overcome, that opacity is bad. Because they are not telling us exactly, speaking for that differential, since that government said last week or 2 weeks ago that there will be no further increase in pump price of PMS. Definitely, government is intervening. And you could see that even when the exchange rate has been set and the loss of the supply will now determine the price, they have had to in now. That's why they went to borrow $1 billion from African Bank of.
Who is the? We're talking about the NPC, or who?
Yeah, the one the NNPC borrowed last week, which into the news, that they borrowed $1 trillion. It was to stabilize the exchange rate that they proposed. And I was wondering, why is it NNPC that went to borrow that money? Why not them?
Isn't it the whole arrangement of crude for cash?
But they said there will be more crude swap. They have stopped this.
Because it looks it's what they're coming with. A crude swap, and a crude swap is going to be cash back. It's a bit vague itself. I mean, it's a conversation we need to be had, because when the enemy is saying we've helped to borrow, we're to ease the pressure on, for helping to ease this, it's not really clear as to how beneficial it will be in the long run or even the short term already. But any question as why is it an NPC?
The point is, that's why I said a lot of opacity in that system. And we need somebody with clarity that can tell us point of. For instance, when will be sufficient in refining petroleum products locally? When is it going to be that? Did you know that has been more in terms of whether he has started?
How soon the refiners will start working?
Production of refined products this August. This is August 3 now. What it was on the day of call was that by the end of or early of the production will start. Now we will see that commission was already done. I mean, in fact, I listened to the TUC president. He said we should just not be too expectant that that day will come on stream, or maybe the very last month of 2023. So, who is selling us the dummy?
All right.
Now we see,
Mr. Ojo, we need to take some calls in before we get to the top of the hour. But we'll give you a minute to wrap that thought up so that we take some phone calls in.
My name is Kimberly Nwachukwu. I'm the author of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria in Hard Facts Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
This is Nigeria Info.